been a few months since Bill Sharpe retired from WCSC TV after 48 years of public service. Today, I talk one-on-one with him about what he's doing right now for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Bill Sharpe, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
You know, it's a pleasure to be with you, Quintin. You've done this now almost for 10 years, and everybody wants to be on Quintin's Close-Ups, so I feel honored. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, just sitting here, I'm nervous, I'm happy, I'm smiling, but I know I have to do right because it's you. You're the legend.
Well, no, just in my own mind. You're always smiling. You're always upbeat, and that's one of the many things I admire about you.
Oh, thank you.
You always are in a good mood, you know, even if you've had a rough day, and I know you have some.
Yes, sir.
You always are professional, Quintin, and you're friendly, and you're always upbeat, and I like that.
Oh, I appreciate it.
You're
greatly.
one of my heroes.
Oh, you're one of my heroes.
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm still sitting right here, man. I'm still, wow. Who is retired Bill Sharpe now?
You know, retired Bill Sharpe doesn't quite know who he is yet. For so long, for 48 years, I pushed it hard, Quintin, striving, working hard, as you know, as you do too. And now I don't have any work at all. Nothing. And that's kind of an adjustment. But I've got to tell you this.
Yes, sir.
My retirement came at just the right time. Let me tell you what. My beautiful bride, Catherine, my beautiful wife, had to have serious shoulder surgery. And she had it in October. I retired 3 weeks after her surgery. She can't drive.
Wow.
Until the shoulder heals. That could take a year, up to a year.
Wow.
So guess who her Uber driver is for physical rehabilitation twice a week, sometimes 3 times, yeah. And also, one of our daughters can't drive. And so guess who her Uber driver is? Guess who picks up the kids from school? Hey, man, how you doing? And good to see you. Thank you, sir. Please tell her I said hi. And and I picked the kids up from school.
Yes, sir.
So I've been a full-time Uber driver, and that's about it. When I've had a lot to do with adjusting insurance. Insurance has been a royal pain.
Wow.
Trying to get my insurance, which is separate from the kids' insurance,
Sure.
which is separate from my special needs son William's insurance.
Yeah.
And it's been a pain, but it's all almost over.
Thank God.
Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Praise Jesus.
Exactly right.
So that's what I've been doing. Now I should be able to finally relax.
And hopefully you can get some tips being obviously the Uber driver for the family.
Well, I've enjoyed it, but you know, when somebody needs to do something,
Yeah.
I'm the one who has to take them.
Yeah.
I've got a 16-year-old at home. She's learning to drive.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a driver's license.
Wow.
William
Yes, sir.
can't drive.
Yeah.
My special needs fella. And Emma, who is Catherine's oldest daughter, can't drive.
Okay.
So here I am.
Here
I'm doing it all.
Doing it all.
But I like being, you know, I'm an older dad. I had my kids at a later date, Quintin, and that is so nice to be able to appreciate them because I'll have William all my life. He'll be with me all my life, which is a blessing.
Sure.
But I'll lose Harper in 2 years. I've already lost my oldest daughter, Haley Catherine.
Right.
She's in college. What? She has a boyfriend. Can you believe
believe
that?
that?
How dare she do that to dear old dad? And Emma's not going to be with us forever.
Yeah.
And Catherine's oldest, his name is Gray, like the color gray. He just lives with his father half the time and with us half the time.
Right.
So I'm enjoying being with the kids while I can because in a few years, all that's going to change.
Now, how will you get adjusted? Well, how would you prepare for that change now?
Well, being with the kids as much as I can so that when I look back, I'll be able to say, Quintin, I helped them grow up. I was with them as they grew up. I gave them good advice.
Yes.
I was a good dad, and that'll give me a lot of satisfaction. You know, you basically, when you have kids, you just rent kids. You rent them for a period of time, and then they go.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you drink beer.
Okay.
Not that I drink that much beer anymore.
No.
You rent beer.
Yes, sir.
You don't really buy beer. You rent it. It's the same with kids. They are all going to leave you, Quintin.
Yeah.
And I dread the day that will happen, but it always does.
Always does. What advice did somebody give you before you retired?
About retiring, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I've had so much advice. Some people would say, just enjoy it. Do whatever the heck you want. Don't worry about deadlines. Don't worry about anything. Enjoy it. Other people have said, you know, you're going to get tired of this, Bill, doing nothing. Get yourself a part-time job or a full-time job and see how that works out. So I've had two different schools of thought as to what to do, but everybody's been so nice. So nice. One guy today, I put a picture of me on Facebook. Right. Did you see that saying,
sir.
I'm looking for a job?
I saw that.
So this guy, he broke me up. It's funny. He said, you know, Bill, you have a great face for radio. And I thought, you know what? You're right. So,
going back to the future for you with radio.
Back to the future with me. That's how I started.
Wow. What school of thought do you have now? Do you want to take the part-time route? Do you want to take the full-time route?
You know, Quintin, for 48 years, I had deadlines 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
You know, when I retired, I did the noon news, as you know, the 4 o'clock news, the 5 o'clock news with the lovely and talented Ann McGill. She's wonderful. She's wonderful. It's like my sister.
Yes, she is.
And the 6 o'clock with Ann McGill.
Yes.
So the news starts whether I'm there or not. So I have those deadlines. I have to be there. Now the news can start at noon, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, and I don't have to be there.
Be there.
And not having those deadlines is wonderful. I got to tell you something that I find kind of funny. It's funny, but it's not really. I have PTSD, nightmares about being on TV. Now let me tell you what form they take. I have these on a regular basis. In my nightmares, Quintin, I'm trying to get to the news set, and it's a strange building, and I don't have much time, so I'm stressed out in my nightmare, and I've got to find a tie. Okay, get the tie. Got to find a coat.
Right.
Oh my gosh, this shirt won't cut it. And I get there, and I get on the set, and there's Debbie, my former lovely anchorwoman, or Ann waiting for me, and they're counting me down, 10, 9, 8, right? And I'm thinking, I made it. Then I look down, and I don't have a mic, or I can't find my earpiece. And I have those recurring nightmares, and but they're getting better.
Better. When did it start for you?
Years ago. I think when you have deadlines, and let's be honest, Quintin, sometimes I would make those deadlines with plenty of time.
Yes.
No sweat.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it was tight. I always made them.
Yeah.
But sometimes it was tight, and the stress level, as you know, you got to be there, and you're not quite there. The stress level goes way up. So that stress is now playing out in PTSD nightmares. The good news is it was still worth it to do what I did, and they're getting better.
Yes, sir.
So there you go.
Yeah. When did that stress level peak towards the end of your journalism career?
I don't think it peaked toward the end. I don't know when it's really peaked. I enjoyed doing what I did so much, Quintin. It was so much fun. I loved it. But that's past. That's gone. I will never, ever. You got this on camera.
Camera, yes, sir.
You can always show it if I change my mind. I will never go back to a daily newscast as long as I live. I've done that. I did that. Been there, done that. Yeah. That's in the past. So whatever I do in the future will not be going back to the news, at least not on a daily basis where I have deadlines I have to meet. You know, there's another nice thing about being retired.
Yes,
you
sir.
know? I don't have to put a tie on.
Yes, sir.
I don't even have to shave.
Yeah.
I still bathe on a regular basis because I got to keep my wife around and the kids, right? But that's nice, and the more I do this, the more I like not having deadlines. I love exercising.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm not a runner. I can't with my knees. But I love walking the dog. I've got a bike now.
Oh, yeah.
And I go down the Greenway.
Yes.
Love riding my bike. I go to the gym every so often.
Yes, sir.
So I love doing all that. And now, I don't have to do that at 7 or 6:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I still have to get up early because William's bus, I have to have him on the bus at 6:25 every morning.
Jesus.
Which means I get up a little after 5, get him ready, change his diapers.
Yeah.
You know, he's a special needs kid.
Yeah.
He makes me laugh, we talk, and then I brush his teeth, get him dressed, walk him on down to the bus. So I still am an early riser.
Yeah.
But after that, and after I get my daughter Harper off to the bus, I am free for the day.
Free for the day.
Until I have to take Catherine into physical therapy. Until I have to pick up Harper at school. Until I have to meet William's bus and pick him off the bus.
Right.
So let me tell you what happens.
Yes, sir.
This is a minor thing that you will laugh at. One day I missed the bus for William. I got there 5 minutes late. Right? I thought, no big thing. The bus will be waiting for me. The bus didn't wait. What the bus does is, if you're not there, it takes him all the way back to school. All the way. So I had to get in my car, go all the way to school, pick him. Well, it's a safety issue. That's okay. To pick him up. So I determined I would never, ever miss the bus again, and I never do.
Wow. Wow. You know, I usually start my day at 8 o'clock in the morning.
What time are you awake?
8 o'clock.
But you stay up later, see?
Yes, until probably 11 o'clock at night.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm in bed. I'm gone by 8:39, 9:30. Man, I'm back there. But then I like being an early morning person.
Yes.
Nobody in the family gets up that early except me.
Wow.
So I can have my cup of coffee and read until William comes down and says, Dad, it's time to get ready.
What are you reading these days as a former journalist?
I read my phone a lot. I read the news. I have a feed on my phone has become my lifeline to everything.
Me too.
Look at you. You've got your tablet here.
Yeah.
I don't use my computer much at home because I've got my phone.
Right.
And it can do everything I want it to do basically.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So I read news, a news feed, and I'm in the middle of a book about evolution. And I wish I could remember the name of the author. In fact, I got to give you this book. It's fascinating.
Okay.
It's about how man evolved. And it's by a guy from Israel. Wow. Fascinating. And you would be surprised at how we competed with the Neanderthals.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up saying Neanderthals. Now I'm learning it's pronounced Neanderthals, too. Anyway, you would enjoy it. I'm reading some of that.
Wow. What else do you want to read that you couldn't read almost 50 years ago in journalism?
I want to get back to the classics that I studied in English Lit when I was at Emory University back in the late 60s and early 70s. Things like, what is my favorite book? Oh, gosh, I can't remember the name of this book, and I want to reread that.
Okay.
And it starts out, how does it start out? Well, I can't think of it right now, but I want to read some of the classics. Again, reread them, and some of the classics that I've never had a chance to read. I want to read some Ernest Hemingway.
Oh, yes.
You know, Farewell to Arms.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yes, sir.
So, some of the classics I want to get back to reading. Because I'm an English Lit guy.
Yes, you are.
And I studied all that. I also, I took French in college, and I was pretty darn good at it in college. I've lost most of it now. I want to take some French again. Maybe go over to France for a few weeks or a few months, and just be in the middle of France where I have to talk French. Where I have to parler français. Je parle français un peu, monsieur? And I've always enjoyed French, the French language, and so I'd like to I may go back to the College of Charleston, because as a senior person, I don't mean as a senior in school, I think the college, some places offer free education for seniors.
They do.
Do they?
Absolutely. Trident Tech, all of them, I think.
Tech does. Love Tech. Love Tech.
Yes, sir.
And that is something that my brother suggested to me. He says, you know, you and I grew up speaking French. And back when we grew up, we were fairly good. Not anymore, but that was a long time ago. I think I'd like to study some Francais, as they say.
They say. And you know, the famous French restaurants right here.
Which one?
Yeah, right here.
Right over here on the corner.
Yeah,
that's a great little restaurant. They've been open for years.
Years, since I was born.
I'm going to go in there with you one day, and I'm going to say, bonjour, monsieur, ça va? Aujourd'hui? Meaning, hello, sir, how are you? How's it going today?
Right.
And see what he says, or she says, whatever.
Exactly. I was there for lunch one time when I had to do an interview for Quintin's close-up. Ran right there and ate it, and it's good food.
It's great food.
Great food.
I haven't been in there in years. Still good, huh?
Still good.
I love French restaurants.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So that my waistline doesn't. So look at you. You're still thin after all these years. Here I am getting to be a fat boy, and you're looking great.
Well,
you're not starving, are you?
No, I just eat right now. I'm drinking my detox smoothies.
Good.
I'm eating my Caesar salads. You know, I'm just exercising a lot, running a lot on the weekends.
How much you run on the weekends?
I get all my runs in. A full run, probably 13, 14 miles. So I'll start where I live on Charleston's east side, and I'll go up to the Upper Peninsula and to the south end of North Charleston and come back down.
Jeez, Quintin, no wonder you're so damn skinny, man.
Yes.
Not skinny, but you're looking nice and thin.
Thank you.
Has your weight changed much since you were younger? When you were an intern with us at Live 5?
Yes.
How much?
I probably did gain a little bit of weight.
Not much.
Okay.
To me, you look just as good, if not better, than you did back then, and you look great back then.
Thank you.
I can't run 13 or 14 miles, but I can walk for half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
Yes, sir.
How long does it take you to run 13 miles?
Well, see, I like to do sightseeing around there, so it's probably going to take 2 hours. Shouldn't take 2 hours, but it does.
Now, do you stop along the way some,
sir.
and then...
Yeah, and I'll stop over to CVS on East Montague or whatever I need to get a drink and come back down. But I always stop at Publix. That's my final destination. I got to get their subs. Got to get those Publix subs.
I love those Publix subs, too.
Yes.
They are very good. What kind do you get?
I get turkey on the multigrain, lettuce, tomatoes, cheese, and I'll get the oil and vinegar and salt and pepper.
You're making me hungry.
I know.
You are making me hungry.
That's going to be lunch for the day anyway.
It's about lunchtime, you know.
Yeah, well, that answer on you.
Sorry. Get it? Thank you. Thank you, good.
But you talk about obviously reading the news online now. How do you view news differently now that you're off the air?
I don't know that I do view it differently, Quintin. I'm just not a part of it like I was when I was working at Live 5. So I've always been a news junkie.
Yes.
Always, like you have. Always been a news junkie. Now I can be a news junkie and not have to think, well, when I get into work, I want to do this, maybe follow up on this, look at this, see if I can develop this story further.
Right.
I don't do that anymore. I just read the news for what it is. And speaking of the news, I'm really concerned about this invasion of Ukraine by Russia and Vladimir Putin. It's a terrible thing, terrible thing.
How would you cover that story locally as a journalist?
See if you could find somebody from Ukraine and talk to him or her and see how he or she felt about the invasion. Talk to some Russians if you could here and see if they feel the same way. You know, for all we know, Russians may say, look, it's really our territory. We're just taking it back. Whereas if you talk to a Ukrainian, he or she might say, wait a minute. We're a sovereign country like you are in the United States. How dare Russia try to, annex us and take us back, especially by violence. So that's how I would develop it. In the old days, they would fly me to Russia or to Ukraine.
They would.
But those were the old days.
I was just looking back at this. I just love this. I don't know if I still have it. Your old promo.
This is Bill Sharpe, anchorman, journalist, award-winning reporter. For over 7 years, he's been
Oh my gosh.
whether it's from halfway
Look at
around the
that.
world or right here at home. He's been there. And if you think experience doesn't count in
Wow.
television news, just try gathering the news without it. Because in Charleston, we trust
can do
people
that.
and we know where to find people we trust. Bill Sharpe's on Live 5 News.
I was a lot skinnier back then. Quintin, I've been blessed with, thanks to Channel 5,
Yes.
or they call it Live 5
Yes.
now, not Channel 5. I grew up calling it Channel
Yes.
5, as you did probably. I've been all over the world
Yes, you have.
for Channel 5. When we got a new Pope,
Right.
I went with our bishop here, whose name was Ernest Unterkeffler, and we covered the installation of the new Pope. In fact, I actually had an audience with the Pope, the new Pope. He was John Paul I. His name was Albino Luciani, good Italian fellow.
Yes, sir.
And there were about 300 people in a room in the Vatican, and I was in the very back, but still, there was the Pope, and I was impressed.
Wow.
So I leave, and a month later he dies. And I was going to go back, but for some reason we didn't go back and cover the installation of the second Pope. Speaking of popes,
Yes, sir.
and the local bishop,
Right down the street.
that's right, just down Broad Street, we have a new bishop,
Yes.
and I'm so excited. Let me tell you why
Yes,
I'm
sir.
so excited. Number one, he's black.
Yes, sir.
First black bishop that I know of in Charleston.
Right.
Number two, he's from Haiti.
Oh.
Number three, il parle français. So here's what I want to do, Quintin. I'm going to call up the diocese.
You should.
And say, is it okay if I talk to this new bishop
You need to.
en français, in French?
Yes.
And just see what they'll say. But isn't that wonderful how far we've come?
Yeah.
The first black bishop from Haiti. And now he's bishop of the Diocese of South Carolina.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Hopefully, and Maria Sloggy should get you that exclusive interview. You need
Oh, I
to-
love Maria. I love
she's
Maria.
great.
She's the spokesperson for the diocese,
Right.
as you know.
Yeah.
And I'll call her, and she might be able to say yes. She might say, I don't know, Bill. We'll see.
No, they're not going to say no to you.
You don't think so?
No. They'll
Maybe
say
I'll-
no to me.
No. I'll get you to call to back me up.
I will.
Look, Quintin and I. Hey, that would be a great Clinton. Quintin's
A
close up.
joint? A joint? Yeah. You
No,
know some
no,
more
not
stuff.
me. You with the new bishop.
Oh, yeah. That's what
I'll
I'm gonna
watch.
do.
I'll
Okay.
just watch.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be great.
And I can chat with him to warm him up in French.
Yes.
And then you get ready to go and do your thing.
Okay, I'm going to make that happen this summer.
That would be great.
Great. What are the stories here in the Low Country right now, locally, over the past couple of days or weeks that you want to be front and center as far as journalists right now?
The story that has intrigued me and saddened me, but has intrigued me nonetheless, is the Murdoch murder case down in Hampton County and in Beaufort County.
Right.
And boy, that thing is getting just stranger and stranger and stranger. When I was coming up in the news, the solicitor in that district was a man named Buster Murdoch.
Right.
He's now gone home to Jesus.
Right.
But it's his son who's in all of that trouble. We call him Alec Murdoch. It's
Right.
Alex Murdoch.
Murdoch, yeah.
But in the South, Alex often becomes Alec. My cousin was named Alex, and he said, please call me Alec. The former president of the College of Charleston was a friend of mine, and he pronounced his first name Alec, too, Alexander.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyway, that story intrigues me because nobody really yet knows or is saying who murdered Alec Murdoch's wife
Oh, yes.
and younger son.
And the housekeeper.
And the housekeeper, supposedly the dog tripped her up in the house and she fell and died after that. Who knows? And then, of course, Alec is accused of taking the settlement for the housekeeper,
Right.
which was $3 or $4 million.
Right.
He's had a host of problems,
Right.
according to his attorneys and the prosecutors,
Right.
including a long-time addiction to opioids. What a story that is. I mean, my gosh.
Made for movie.
It is a made-for-TV movie. You know, NBC and ABC
Yes.
and CBS will do Dateline NBC and 48 Hours
Right.
on CBS and 2020. They
Right.
probably already have
Right.
come down here to do that. That story has always intrigued me. That broke before I left, about
right.
3 or 4 months before I left. And that story intrigues me. What else intrigues me? Let me see what else is going on. I was shocked and surprised at the school superintendent
Right.
leaving.
Right.
And I'd like to learn more about that. Did you read a postal rate?
Right. There's a lot of questions still to this moment. You know, what's going on with that, as well as the Reimagine Schools proposal.
Right.
So I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Well, good. And the Reimagine Schools, what's
Right.
going on with that?
Right.
There's so many good, juicy stories. I like to investigate.
Sure.
I like to look in and see what I can find, and then would bring to the viewers the new information I found. So that was fun.
Why is that investigative journalism missing from local television news?
Well, they're starting to bring it back in some fashion. We have, I say we, I'm still saying we, even though I've been retired now for 4 or 5 months. Live 5 has an investigative reporter. I don't know her well, but I hear she's very good. And both Channel 2 and 4
Yes.
had investigative reporters too. So that's coming back.
Yes.
Remember Harv Jacobs?
I do.
Harv was one hell of an investigative reporter.
Yes. Him and Franco.
Brad Franco was terrific.
And Franco Hunt.
Franco Hunt. Oh my gosh, loved Franco.
Yes.
He was a mentor to me.
That's right.
When I first worked in radio.
That's right.
Franco's a great guy.
Yeah, I haven't seen him recently. I know he's working at one of those funeral homes down here, but yeah, I love him immensely. And I'm hoping to still get him on Quintin's Close-Up soon, because we're working on that as well.
Oh, you'll get him. You tell him I said to do it. He'll do it.
I definitely will. Speaking of obviously 4-5 months out of obviously retirement, I know that when you go back to 2021, that was when you actually decided that you wanted to retire. What got you from not saying, hey, not right now, to saying, okay, I'm going to retire in 2022?
Tell you a story about that. It was 2020. My contract was up. Boss calls me in, and he says, Bill, you know, we're with a new company now. And I said, yeah. He said, I've checked with my boss, and you're over the pay grade for the maximum amount any anchorman can make in all of Gray TV. And I said, how much over am I? He said, well, you're about 18,000, 20,000 over. I said, so are you telling me in order to stay here I'd have to take an $18,000 to $20,000 pay cut? He says, yeah, that's bad, isn't it? I said, it sure is. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I said, what? Because I was ready to go and retire. He said, how about if you just work 4 days a week, except during ratings period, and ratings periods are 4 times a year.
Yes.
And unless something big happens, like a big hurricane is coming our way, or God forbid some important person gets shot or something, killed. He said, short of that, how would you like to work for 8 months a year? 4 days a week. Wow. I said, you got a deal. So I took the pay cut and just worked, except during ratings periods, 4 days a week. Well, I really liked that, Quintin. I was at the stage of life where I just worked 4 days. I had a long weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That was so nice.
Yes.
So my contract was getting ready to come up again. I signed just a year contract. A year out, because I didn't know how long I wanted to stay or how long they wanted me. So my contract was up again soon, and he called me in, the boss did, and he says, you got 48 years. Why don't we make it around 50?
Yeah.
And I said, Dan, I ain't going to make 50. It's time to go. He said, what? I said, yeah, it's time to go. 48 is long enough. He said, when do you want to go? And I said, is it up to me? He said, you just name it. So I said, how about the last Thursday in the month of October? And that way I still wouldn't have to work a Friday. And he laughed, Quintin, he laughed. He said, so you don't want to work a Friday, but you'll work that last Thursday. And I said, yes, sir, is that okay? He said, sure.
Wow.
So that's how it came about.
I can't believe they made you take a pay cut. You deserve it.
Well, it wasn't him. He tried.
Yeah, it was corporate.
It wasn't Dan. Dan tried. It was corporate. And corporate has, you've got a scale where if you go above it, you can't do it. The old company was different.
Right.
The former company, which was Raycom.
Right.
Raycom was wide open.
Yeah.
But Gray had that cutoff point. That's okay, because you know what? I traded the extra money for a 4-day week, and it was worth it. But toward the end, toward that last year, 2021, last year, Quintin, it got to where I didn't enjoy it anymore. I'd been doing it for 48 years. And I love the people. Ann McGill kept me going. I love the sports guy. I call him Special K.
Yes.
Kevin Bilodeau. And I love the people. Jennifer Dale's the news director, and she made me laugh all the time. Shantae
Yes.
Turner, I love Shantae.
She'll be watching this.
Shantae, love you, baby. They kept me there. I enjoy the people. A guy named Thomas Gruel.
Oh, yes.
You know Thomas?
I do.
He loves you.
Yes, thank
He
you.
controls the day-to-day workings of the news department. Thomas is terrific.
Wow.
And all of those people kept me going. I love the people. I just didn't like the work anymore. I'd done everything there was to do 1,000 times. And it was getting old. Getting old. And I wasn't getting any younger. And I'd saved up my money pretty well.
Right.
And I thought, this is the time.
Was it 2018, 19 when you decided, okay, this is not any fun anymore?
No, I was still going strong then. Still liking it at 2018, 2019. We broadcast live for the Democrat. The Democrats had a big gathering in Charleston. Remember at the Gilliard?
That's right. I remember that.
And I went live there, and I loved it. I loved it. I actually got to introduce the candidates in the event leading up to the big debate, right? And I love that. I met all the candidates, and I can tell you all about them, the good, bad, and the ugly. And I remember Joe Biden. He was President Biden now. He was so funny. I'm meeting people. He stuck out his hand. And he said, "Joe Biden." And back then he was Senator Biden, of course. And I should have said to him, "Senator, good to see you." But I just felt like he was good old Joe. So I said, "Joe, good to meet you."
Yeah, he actually presented an award to me on behalf of the NAACP a couple of years ago.
Did he?
With Dot Scott, yeah.
Joe Biden did? The President of the United States?
Yes, President, yes. Yeah,
wow.
That was, gosh, a couple of years ago. I'll show it to you. It's on Facebook somewhere.
I'll look at it. I want to see it. So let me tell you about Joe.
Yes, sir.
You remember Fritz Holling's funeral about 3 or 4 years ago at the Citadel.
Right.
So I was there. I'd asked for the assignment because I knew Joe Biden was going to be talking. Right. And I was going to try to get an interview.
Yes.
So we're going up, and there's Joe, and he's got people pushing us all away. And I wasn't getting anywhere. Nobody else was either. So I thought, I'm going to call his name out. Not Senator Biden. I'm going to say Joe. So I yelled out, "Hey, Joe, how you doing?" He looked up and said, "Hey, how are you?" And that allowed me to go in, just a quick interview. Right. It wasn't long. Right. But that allowed me to get in just by saying, "Hey, Joe, how are you?" And I'll never forget that. He was very nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
Very nice. What are your most memorable assignments? This is a simplistic question, but what are your most memorable assignments?
Going to Rome for the Pope. Mother Emanuel, I had, off camera, I'd break down in tears and cry. One day I cried several times that day. I had to write something for the 11 o'clock news and tape it. I told my boss, I said, I can't read this live. May I tape it? I said, I'll never get through it if I go live. And he said, sure. So he said, would you write something? And I wrote something that I thought was good. And I had him, the news director at the time, read it. And he said, that's very good, very good. Let's cut it. And it took me a while to get through it. And I'd break down in tears. And it was tough. That was the most gut-wrenching, the hardest thing I've ever been through. And I knew personally and loved him, Clemente Pinckney, the pastor at Mother Emanuel. I knew him not as a pastor, but as a state senator. And let me tell you, you're talking about leaders, this tall, good-looking guy with a big, deep voice, he could command the room like nobody else. And I admired him so much, loved Clemente Pinckney, and it hit me. I didn't know the other members of the church well, but all of them, every single one, just tore something out of my heart, just tore it. Yeah, man. So, fast forward now, it's 2 or 3 days later, and we're having the bond hearing for the suspect. Right. And time after time, the relatives of those who had been killed by him got up and they all said, I forgive him. Right. Jesus tells me to forgive him. Right. My religion tells me to forgive him. Sure. And let me tell you, that hit me again, Quintin. And I was on camera by myself, so they came back to me. And I had to gather my thoughts and swallow hard before I could wrap up that story. That got to me. Some of the presidents I've interviewed, presidential candidates, were fun, and believe it or not, one of the most fun interviews I did, regardless of what you think of it. What's going on? How are you, my friend? Great to be seen. Yes. One of the most fun interviews, again, whether you agree with him or not, was Donald Trump. Oh, I remember you interviewing him. I interviewed Donald Trump. I had to fight to get the interview. His PR lady kept trying to cut me off and stop. But I knew she wasn't going to get him to stop. He would stop when he darn well wanted to. Right. So I interviewed him. It was a great interview. Yes, I saw it. Great. Did you see it? Yes, sir. Great interview. I interviewed Barack Obama. I had a feeling. I get these feelings, Quintin, about who's going to be the next president. Okay. So my former nanny for the kids, Mrs. Pinckney, who lives across the street from me now, I said, Mrs. Pinckney, this is a chance for you to meet Barack Obama, and I said, I have a feeling he may be the next president of the United States. Do you want to go with me? And Mrs. Pinckney said, absolutely. So Mrs. Pinckney and I and my daughter hopped in my car. We had to do a parade first in Somerville or Ridgeville. Then after the parade, we got in my car, went up to Columbia, and interviewed Barack Obama.
Wow.
And Mrs. Obama.
Right.
And he was kind of laid back. He was, like looking at me like, who is this guy? He was very friendly, but laid back.
Right.
He was
Right.
Sort of aloof. But his wife
Yes, sir.
was as friendly as they could. She was a great interview. He was okay.
Okay.
Answered all my questions, but
Yeah.
she was fun. So toward the end of the interview, I said, Mrs. Pinckney, why don't you go sit with Barack Obama and Michelle, his wife? And she said, no, I can't do that, Mr. Sharpe. And I said, let me ask. I said, Mrs. Obama, would you mind if Mrs. Pinckney sat with you and the senator? He was a senator back then. And she said, not at all. So they made room on the couch, and I got pictures of Mrs. Pinckney, my nanny, wonderful lady, and my neighbor, sitting next to Michelle Obama and Barack Obama.
Wow.
And then 8 months later,
he became president. And she became first lady.
Wow. I had a great interview in 1979. How old were you in 79?
No, sir, I was born in 1984.
So you weren't even here.
No.
I was 29. I interviewed then Governor Ronald Reagan and Mrs. Reagan. And I went back to the station and I told Mike Hyatt.
Oh, yes.
You know Mike? Mike's a great guy. Talented.
Yes.
And I said, Mike, I got news for you. I get that feeling again. I said, I think it's going to be Ronald Reagan this time, winning the presidency. And sure enough, he skunked Jimmy Carter.
Wow.
And he was a good interview, too.
Yeah.
So then, fast forward from when he gets elected in 1981 to 1984. I'm now 34 years old. I get a call from the White House. Mr. Sharpe, would you like to come up and interview President Reagan? I said, would I? I said, of course.
Sure.
So we had lunch with the president. I was sitting about as close to him as you are, as I am to you.
Right.
And it was time for questions. So he said, you young man, you go first, meaning me. So I asked the first question of President Reagan. Right. And the next day, my comments and my question made the New York Times. Wow. And I thought, man, this fellow from South Carolina, this West Ashley boy has made it now. That was a lot of fun, too.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun.
How did you all command an audience? Bill, Debbie, Charlie, Warren, Pepper. How did you do it? Because people, even to this day, they ask about you all, they love you all, they miss you on TV. I don't even watch the news now since you're gone.
Oh, Quintin, you need to.
I get everything on the phone now. And
I do too.
And of course, I'm interviewing all these people about the news.
Exactly.
But how did you all command the audience for, 20-something years?
Let's see, Debbie and I worked together for close to 40 years. Warren and I worked together for close to 30 years. Charlie and I worked together for 35 years. Bill Walsh and I worked together for 30 years.
Right.
The first thing you have to understand is Channel 5, as they called it back in the good old days, not Live 5. Channel 5 was always the leader in the Low Country. Carol Godwin, Charlie Hall, Ken Kleiss, George Norwig in sports. They were the leaders back then. Everybody else, 2 and 4. 4 came in later.
Right.
2 came in sooner, then 4 came in later, came on the air. Channel 5 was established first, and they were the news leaders, and the Rivers family.
Yes.
Mr. Rivers and Mrs. Rivers, and then John Jr.
Oh, yeah.
They knew how to run the TV station. They knew what they were doing. They were great to work for. Great. I love Mr. Rivers. He'd come into me, he'd say, Bill, what's going on? And I'd tell him. Mr. Rivers would tell me what he was thinking about. And, he was a trusty old man. Bill, we ought to be doing this, that, and the other. And I said, yes, sir, Mr. Rivers. But I loved it. And Mrs. Rivers was the boss. She was the boss of the whole family, and loved her too. And then John, who is a little older than me, I'm 71, John's in his 70s, is doing well and have the utmost respect. Love John Rivers. Because without the Rivers family,
There'd be no Channel
I
5.
wouldn't be here. So you know who hired me? Carol Godwin.
All right.
Carol was doing the early news. The year was 1973. I was 22 years old. 22. Long hair. Carol calls me out of the blue. Said, I hear good things about you. You want to audition? And I said, nah. I said, I'd have to. I was in radio.
Oh, yes.
I said, thank you, Carol, but I'd have to shave and cut my hair. And he said, well, think about it. So I went back, called my folks, went over to their house. I said, Mom, Dad, I got a call from Carol. You got a call from who? I said, from Carol Godwin. What does he want? I said, he wants me to interview for a job.
Right.
And they said, well, what's the problem? I said, well, I'd have to shave and cut my hair. And they said, you dummy, go home and shave and get a haircut and go and do the audition. So with the arrogance of youth, I was an arrogant young man. I knew as soon as I auditioned, I had the job.
Wow. And the rest, it's not history. It's
Well,
still
the rest
playing.
is history. The rest was history.
I mean, we still talk about you years later. Debbie, still years later. Charlie, people, still talk about Charlie Hall. And, he passed away, unfortunately, in 97 when I was very young. I was like 13 when he passed away.
Yeah. Everybody loved Charlie. He was like a father figure to me. Wonderful man. Funny. People didn't realize how funny Charlie Hall was off camera. And he loved life.
Yes.
He loved life. His first wife was dying of heart disease. But let me tell you what a guy he was. He just quit. Got a convertible, little convertible sports car, and they went touring throughout the country in that little convertible sports car. Here's big, tall, 6'2" Charlie Hall trying to cram himself down into this little convertible sports car, right? But they loved it. Charlie quit just because he wanted to be with his wife. Took her on that trip. When they got back, she died. But at least she had him for a year before she died. So they come back. We had a wonderful guy taking Charlie's place, whose name was Bob. Can't remember his last name. Wonderful guy. And Charlie said to Mr. Rivers, I want my job back.
Yeah.
So guess what they did? They gave him the job back. They kept Bob for the 11, but they put Charlie in for the early. So when Charlie came back, he stayed until 97.
Oh, man. I'm still getting chills thinking about you all together. And having you here is it's amazing.
Well, what's amazing to me is I grew up like you did, watching these people.
Right.
Carol Godwin, Ken Kleiss, Charlie Hall, George Norwick. I never thought I'd have a chance to work with them. So when Carol hired me, I thought, wow, I'm in heaven. And then I got to meet Charlie, work with him.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, Ken Kleiss came back for a short period. Got to meet Ken. And I met George a few times. It was just wonderful.
Wow. And I grew up watching you all. It's just, oh, man, amazing. The best team ever.
Well, you're very kind. I don't know about that, but we did well. I'll tell you this quick anecdote, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
I know you got things to do. First time I saw Debbie Chari, I did a double take. She took my breath away. She was that gorgeous, that pretty. I mean, it was like, whoa. She looked just like Wonder Woman. Only,
yes, that's right.
Only prettier.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, I got a chance to work with this woman, and I came to find out Debbie was not only beautiful on the outside,
right.
She's a beautiful person on the inside,
Sure.
too. She became one of my best friends, and to this day, she and Ann McGill, still two of my best friends on the face of the earth. And Raphael James.
Oh, yeah, he's good, too.
He is the nicest guy. Smart, funny.
Yes.
One of the smartest guys I know is Raphael James.
Yes.
And if you ever see his funny side, he will crack you up. That man, love Raphael.
Yes, he's amazing.
He is amazing.
And Debbie still, I guess, lives in Hugie still.
Yeah, she's become a caretaker for her husband. But the good news is he's getting better. He had real back troubles. Praise the Lord. Thank God. He's getting better now. And he's doing much better. His name is Rabbit.
Yes.
Rabbit Lockwood.
Yes.
So we all call him Rabbit.
Yeah, there you go.
He's had that nickname for years.
Years. And I didn't know this, but you obviously had a shy personality, or you developed it. Why did you become that way?
Why did I become what? Shy. I was always shy. Well, let me correct that.
Okay.
I was shy if I didn't know you. Like coming up to meet, Quintin.
Yes,
I'd be thinking, oh man, I don't know him. This is kind of big scary. This is scary to me, meeting people I didn't know. But people I did know, chat them to death. You know, with your BFFs,
Yes.
you chat a lot with them. But for people I didn't know, I was insecure, young, and shy. But this business brought me out. And now I'm completely opposite. Now I love people, love meeting people like you.
Yes.
And it's so much fun. You know, you're not shy.
I used to be years ago.
Well, how did you get over it?
Through the grace of God, I'm telling you the truth. It's the grace of God. It's just the favor of God. Because it was tough. It was tough.
Did what you do help you where you have to interview people?
Yeah, that too.
On this camera
Yes.
right
And I still get nervous, like talking to you right
here?
now.
You shouldn't be. I'm just a friend.
Yeah, you are.
You know, one of the things I admire you so much, I admire you for so much, Quintin. You're such a great guy.
Thank you.
Everybody loves Quintin. Everybody wants to be on Quintin's close-up. When you had that trouble in the market, you remember that a few months ago, a year ago? How long ago was that?
That was a year ago. I'm still getting trouble with certain people.
Well, we all were on your side. We all had your back.
Thank you.
And I think I told you.
You did on the camera.
So we all had your back. That was just, I'm sorry about that. But you handled it well.
Thank you.
You survived.
Yes, sir.
And you're still thriving.
Yes, you. And you are too.
I'm doing great.
The Bill Sharpe, thank you for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
You know, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.